Today we're breaking down The Dip by Seth Godin. Have you ever felt stuck in something that's going nowhere but you keep pushing because winners never quit? Like you're grinding away at a goal, relationship, or career that deep down you know isn't working, and you're exhausted from pushing through everything because you've been told that quitting makes you a failure. Seth Godin discovered after studying the world's most successful people that they all have one counterintuitive trait. They quit all the time, but they quit the right things at the right time. In this video, you will learn the 3-question framework that tells you exactly when to quit versus when to push through, and the specific signs that separate a temporary struggle from a dead end. Watch till the end to discover why being well-rounded is killing your success and how strategic quitting is the only way to become the best in the world at something. Not through mindless persistence, but through intelligent elimination that frees you to win where it actually matters. Lesson number 1, the dip versus the cul-de-sac versus the cliff. This first concept will save you years of wasted effort, and it starts with understanding 3 curves that control every pursuit in your life. Picture any new project, skill, or relationship. At first, it's exciting. Quick wins. Rapid progress. Then you hit what Godin calls the dip. That long slog between beginner's luck and real mastery, where everything gets harder and most people quit. The dip is actually your friend. It's the barrier that creates scarcity. If there was no dip, everyone would be an expert. The dip is what makes being great valuable. Not every hard thing is a dip. Sometimes you're in a cul-de-sac, a dead end. You're working hard but not going anywhere. That job where you'll never get promoted. That skill that won't matter in 5 years. That relationship that's been the same for a decade. And then there's the cliff, where you're climbing steadily until you fall off completely, like smoking, or ignoring your health, or staying in a dying industry. Everything seems fine until sudden catastrophe. Most people can't tell the difference. They quit in the dip when they should persist. They persist in cul-de-sacs when they should quit. They ignore cliffs until it's too late. But here's the part nobody talks about. The dip is supposed to be hard. That's literally its function. To weed out people who don't want it badly enough. Every time someone quits in the dip, it makes your future success more valuable. Think about medical school. The dip is brutal. Years of study, residency, sleepless nights. But that dip creates scarcity. That's why doctors are valuable. No dip, no value. So the million-dollar question, how do you know if you're in a dip worth pushing through or a dead end worth quitting? That's exactly what the next lesson reveals. Lesson number 2, strategic quitting. This will completely change how you think about quitting, because Godin proves that strategic quitting isn't just acceptable. It's essential for success. Successful people understand that every minute you spend on something that's not working is a minute stolen from something that could. Godin studied superstar CEOs, athletes, artists. They all quit constantly, but they quit strategically, not reactively. Strategic quitting means quitting before you start, or quitting fast when you realize you're in a cul-de-sac. It's never about quitting because something got hard. Most people do the opposite. They start everything without considering the dip ahead. Then, when it gets hard, they quit. That's reactive quitting, the worst kind. Strategic quitting looks like this. Before starting anything, ask, am I willing to push through the dip to become the best in the world at this? If the answer is no, don't start. Save your resources for something where the answer is yes. They think quitting is shameful, but staying in something mediocre is what's shameful. Every resource you waste on dead ends is stolen from your breakthrough opportunity. Jack Welch, legendary CEO of GE, had a rule. If a division couldn't be number 1 or number 2 in its market, he sold or closed it. Brutal? No strategic. Those resources went to divisions that could win. But here's the counterintuitive part. Winners quit all the time. They quit the right stuff. Losers quit too. They quit the wrong stuff. The difference isn't whether you quit. It's what you quit and when. Think about your life right now. What are you doing that you'll never be great at? What are you pursuing half-heartedly? That's not noble persistence. That's resource theft from your potential greatness. Which brings us to why being the best in the world isn't as impossible as it sounds. Lesson number 3. The best in the world. This concept will completely reframe what's possible for you, because the world isn't what you think it is. When Godin says best in the world, everyone pictures Olympic athletes or billionaire CEOs. But that's not your world. Your world is much smaller, and that's the opportunity. Best in the world means best in your world. The world of people who would hire you, buy from you, marry you. Your world might be your city, your industry, your specific niche. You don't need to be the best lawyer in the world. You need to be the best divorce lawyer for entrepreneurs in Austin. You don't need to be the best restaurant. You need to be the best vegan restaurant within 10 minutes of downtown. The riches are in the niches. The more specific your world, the easier it is to be the best. They try to be pretty good at everything instead of the best at one thing. The restaurant that serves Italian, Chinese, and Mexican food? It's the best at nothing. It's invisible. Godin's rule. If you're not going to be the best in the world at something, quit now. Harsh? Harsh? No, liberating. Because being the 50th best at something's worthless. Being the best, even in a tiny world, is priceless. Best doesn't mean what you think. Best means most trusted, most convenient, most specialized, most remarkable, most something that matters to your specific world. The local accountant who only does taxes for dentists? She's the best in the world of dentists needing tax help. She charges triple what generalists charge, has a waiting list, works 6 months a year. Here's what most people don't understand. Good is the enemy of best. In a world of infinite choices, if you're not the best, you're invisible. Most people spread themselves thin, trying to be good at 10 things. But average at everything means excellent at nothing. What could you be the best in the world at if you defined your world narrowly enough? What would you have to quit to focus on that? And this leads perfectly to why average is actually worse than failure. Lesson number 4. Average is for losers. This sounds harsh, but once you understand Godin's logic, you'll never settle for average again. In a world of infinite choices, average is invisible. Average restaurants go bankrupt. Average employees get laid off. Average products gather dust. The market rewards the exceptional and punishes the average. There's no middle anymore. Being average takes just as much work as being exceptional. Think about it. The average restaurant works just as many hours as the exceptional one. The average employee shows up just like the superstar. Same effort, completely different results. Why? Because average means you never pushed through the dip. You stopped at good enough. You became competent, but not remarkable. The gap between average and exceptional isn't as big as you think. It's not twice as hard to be the best. It might be 20% harder, but the rewards are 1,000% greater. The best surgeon doesn't work twice as hard as the average one, maybe 20% harder, but she makes 10 times more, chooses her patients, changes lives. The average surgeon struggles to pay off med school. But here's the counterintuitive part. It's actually easier to be exceptional than average, because when you're exceptional, the market comes to you. When you're average, you're constantly fighting for scraps. The exceptional yoga instructor has a wait list. The average one begs for students. The exceptional programmer names her price. The average one hopes the job doesn't get outsourced. Most people aim for average because it feels safer. I'll just be pretty good at this. But average is the riskiest position. You're replaceable, forgettable, a commodity. Why would anyone choose you if you're just average? They wouldn't. They'd choose the best they can afford or the cheapest if they can't tell the difference. So, if average equals invisible and invisible equals failure, what's the only option? Push through the dip and become exceptional, or quit and find something where you can be. Which brings us to the 3 questions that determine everything. Lesson number 5. The 3 questions to ask before quitting. These 3 questions will save you from both your biggest mistakes: quitting when you shouldn't and persisting when you should quit. Question 1. Am I panicking? Panic is never strategic. It's your lizard brain screaming, "Escape," when things get hard. Most quitting happens in panic mode, in the moment when the dip feels unbearable. Godin's rule: never quit in the dip. Quit before you start, or quit when you've rationally determined you're in a cul-de-sac. But never quit just because it's hard right now. Write down your quitting criteria before you start. I'll quit if X happens. I'll quit on this date if I haven't achieved Y. When you're in the pain, check your criteria. Not met? Keep going. Question 2. Who am I trying to influence? If you're trying to influence one person, a boss will never promote you. You might be in a cul-de-sac. If you're trying to influence a market, customers who could choose you, you might be in a dip worth pushing through. Markets respond to persistence. Individuals often don't. That toxic boss probably won't change. That market that doesn't know you exist yet, it will, if you push through the dip. Question 3. What sort of measurable progress am I making? This is the cul-de-sac detector. If you're working hard but nothing's improving, same results, same problems, same place, you're in a dead end. But here's the key: measurable. Not, I feel like I'm getting better. Real metrics: more customers, better reviews, higher skills, concrete evidence. They measure the wrong things. Years at a company isn't progress. Salary increases that match inflation isn't progress. Being busy isn't progress. Progress is measurable movement toward being the best in your world. If you can't measure progress, you can't tell if you're in a dip or a cul-de-sac. And if you can't tell, you're probably in a cul-de-sac. Dips have progress, just slow progress. These 3 questions create clarity. And clarity is what separates strategic quitting from reactive quitting. But there's one more concept that determines whether any of this works. Lesson number 6, the opposite test. This mental model will show you exactly what you should be doing, and it's brilliantly simple. Godin asks, if you're not going to be number 1, why are you doing it? Most people answer, because I need the money. Because I already started. Because people expect me to. These aren't reasons. They're excuses. The opposite test? What if you did the exact opposite of what everyone else is doing? Everyone's trying to be well-rounded? Become radically specialized? Serving everyone? Serve only a specific group. Everyone's competing on price? Be the most expensive. The opposite is usually where the opportunity lives. When everyone zigs, zag. Not to be different, but because the crowd creates the dip somewhere else. Think about Netflix. When everyone was opening more video stores, they went opposite. Mail order. When everyone went to mail order, they went opposite again. Streaming. They think opposite means contrary. No. It means finding the dip others are avoiding. Everyone avoids things that are hard, expensive, time-consuming, or require massive upfront investment. That's your opportunity. The accountant who only serves dentists? Everyone said, you're limiting yourself, the opposite of what everyone does. Now she's the best in her world. Most people follow the crowd because it feels safe, but the crowd creates competition. Competition creates average. Average creates invisibility. What's everyone in your field avoiding? What dip are they unwilling to face? That's where your opportunity to be the best lives. The opposite isn't about rebellion. It's about finding the dip that creates the most value. The one others quit, the one that makes you scarce. Which brings us to the final lesson. And it's the one that makes everything else possible. Lesson number 7. Pre-dip decision making. This is what separates professionals from amateurs, and it's all about when you make your decisions. Amateurs start things impulsively, then quit when it gets hard. They make decisions in the dip, when they're emotional, exhausted, and can't think clearly. Professionals make quitting decisions before they start, when they're rational and clear-headed. Before you start anything, a degree, a business, a relationship, map out the dip. How long will it last? How hard will it get? What resources will you need? Are you willing to pay that price? If not, don't start. Save those resources for something you will push through. When you've pre-committed to pushing through a specific dip, the pain changes meaning. It's not a signal to quit. It's confirmation you're on track. The dip is supposed to hurt. That's how you know it's working. Microsoft Windows was losing money for 7 years. 7 years of dip. But they'd pre-committed to pushing through. Now it's one of the most profitable products ever created. They start everything with romantic optimism. Let's see how it goes. That's planning to fail. Because when the dip comes, and it always comes, you have no framework for deciding. Write it down. I will push through this dip until specific date milestone, unless specific quit criteria. Now you've removed emotion from the equation. But here's what's brilliant about pre-dip decisions. They give you power in the dip. When others are panicking, you're executing a plan. When others are questioning everything, you already answered the questions. This isn't about being stubborn. It's about being strategic. You can still quit, but only if your predetermined quit criteria are met, not because today was hard. The most successful people in the world don't have more willpower. They make better decisions about what dips to enter and pre-commit to pushing through them. Let me crystallize this into something you can use immediately. The dip isn't your enemy. It's your opportunity. It creates scarcity that makes excellence valuable. But only if you choose the right dips and quit the dead ends. Here's your action plan. List everything you're pursuing right now. For each one, answer, can I become the best in the world at this? Define world as narrowly as needed, but be honest. If the answer is no, make an exit plan. Not tomorrow when you're emotional. Today while you're clear. Free up those resources for something where you can be exceptional. For anything where the answer is yes, write down your dip strategy. How long will you persist? What would make you quit? What does best in the world look like? Because here's what Godin taught me that changed everything. Winners quit all the time. They just quit the right things, and they quit them fast so they can focus all their resources on pushing through the right dip. You don't have unlimited time, energy, or resources. Every moment you spend on something you'll never be great at is stolen from your chance at greatness. Remember, being well-rounded is drastically overrated. Pick your dip wisely, then become the best in the world. For more book summaries that give you actionable takeaways without the fluff, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.